Vivian Howard is an American chef and author, a restaurateur, a mom, and a wife. And now she's looking to the future. I talk one-on-one with Vivian for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Vivian Howard, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You really don't need an introduction, but I'm going to say that obviously you're an American chef, a restaurateur, an author, a mom, a wife, and a television host. How would you put your life into a cookbook right now, Vivian?
Messy things. Yeah, I think that's what it would be called. Lots of pots on the fire, lots of bowls on the counter, lots of things about to be done at once.
Wow. What is your balance? How do you juggle this?
That question about balance is a hard one because I don't necessarily even pursue that, I guess. I mean, I find balance in doing things that I really enjoy, that are rewarding. And I think that parenting is one of those moments with my kids. I also get a lot of, I find work very rewarding. So, as long as my life is balanced with things that I feel back and fill me up, then I feel good.
Yes, ma'am. And I know you got into cooking because you wanted to be a food writer, and what you told Layla Gulen last week. What would you write today about your cooking?
I think that it's evolved. It's like grown with me as I've grown as a person. My cooking very much today represents the type of food that I like to eat. At one point in my career, I think it represented the type of food that I thought other chefs wanted me to cook. And so I think that my cooking today would reflect me and my taste.
And what is your taste these days?
Well, really bright, beautiful flavors with lots of vegetables. I'm so looking forward to the fruit this summer, but simple, like not all over the top with tons of like reductions and stock-based sauces or green garnish for the sake of green garnish. Really just dialing in the flavors and that are going to make food that everybody wants to eat.
What is that? What are those stock-based sauces that you've actually had to use in your kitchen?
Well, one of the primary stocks of the Eastern North Carolina kitchen is just when you take a whole chicken and kind of boil it to pieces. Ideally, it would have been a laying hen, a spent hen, or a tough old bird. And you would boil that for hours and hours, and it would just make a really flavorful broth or stock.
Wow, that's amazing. And speaking of which, you told Layla, hey, cooking vegetables is what I do. Which one of those vegetables, when you think of Eastern North Carolina, describes your new restaurant, what I was just at yesterday, Lenore?
Maybe collards. I come from, are huge all over the South, but here in Eastern North Carolina, we have something we call a cabbage collard, and it's an heirloom variety that has a slightly lighter leaf and a sweeter, less bitter flavor. And we've always had a lot of pride around that collard. And at my restaurant, Chef and the Farmer, we were known or are known for these fried collards, which are just essentially chips that you can eat at the beginning of your meal. And now in Charleston, we have a version of those tossed with furikake, which is a Japanese rice seasoning. And I would say 2/3 of the tables that come in get a bowl of those.
Wow, that's amazing, Vivian.
chips, not with a fork. Okay.
Okay. You just eat it as is, like out of a potato chip bag, kind of. And I know too. You told Layla, listen, I wanted a behind the scenes look, that is, at what it meant to work in the kitchen, and I try to be in high level kitchens. What are those high level kitchens that you've experienced?
Well, way back in the day when I got started, I was at a restaurant called WD-50, and it was really a groundbreaking restaurant in New York because it was all about like molecular gastronomy when that was, a hot thing. And I knew about that restaurant because they were on the opening staff was on the front page of the food section of the New York Times, and that's like, whoa. So I pursued that role. Then I went on to work in Jean-Georges von Grichten's Spice Market, and yeah, so just trying to be in the places where I could learn the most and be with the most talented, dedicated people.
And who are those talented, dedicated people that you've surrounded yourself with over your career?
Well, I would say my parents. They have been such a big part of my journey. Both bringing me back to Eastern North Carolina and then supporting me through this really wild kind of ride that I've been on. I never would have been able to do all the things that I've done without like living across the road from them. I would also say my sisters have been a big part of my support system. I've looked up to a lot of chefs and restaurateurs through books. I moved back to Eastern North Carolina pretty early in my career and opened this restaurant, and it was kind of an isolating thing. I didn't have a mentor here, if you will. The chef that inspired me to become a chef, his name's Scott Barton, and his restaurant was called Voyage, and this was in 2001, and Voyage was all about Southern food via Africa, and that's something we talk about a lot today, but back in 2001, it really wasn't on the tip of many people's tongues. So he was way ahead of his time, and he really inspired me to think of food as more than just something that you eat. Like he told the stories around the ingredients and the plates that he was putting together and attached it to history, and it was just like, whoa, fascinating. So for me, I think Scott Barton really set my path to food, but through history and culture and storytelling.
Why do you storytell the Southern style foods these days?
How?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think that Southern food stories are all about the people cooking them. So, in all of my work, whether it be A Chef's Life, Somewhere South, through my books, I talk about food. I talk about food, but through the lens of people and place. And I think that continues today. The South is evolving just like the rest of the country, and we're a microcosm of the rest of the country. And so we have all kinds of new influences, and also communities that have been here a really long time that are becoming the fabric of our Southern culture. And so there's a lot of storytelling and a lot of to be done and a lot of stories to hear and learn from.
And what story have you actually learned from that has made you a better chef, author, restaurateur, business owner, entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, it would be a lot of little lessons that I could dial into one. Through my work on A Chef's Life and Somewhere South, I've been lucky enough to be in the kitchens of so many matriarchs, like older women who have been cooking and preparing food for their families and their loved ones their whole lives, and people, women of all cultures, and to see how that that pattern exist across communities, and to see all the wisdom that those women carry, that really taught me that A, I should have paid more attention to my mother cooking in the kitchen, and B, that you don't have to go to culinary school or work in restaurants to have a very specific type of wisdom and skill and technique in the kitchen, and that type is just as valuable as the type, and probably more than you get when you go to school to do it.
And you have the wisdom, obviously, but how do you keep that pattern going for the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I'm just a curious person. I love talking to new people. I love finding out, what makes this taste this way. Whenever I meet someone, no matter where they're from, I'm like, what's the dish of your place? Like, what's the dish that wherever you come from is known for? Because we all have that. And it's a great way to break the ice and learn something about someone and have them learn something about you. And so I hope to continue to do that, and to be inspired by the people and the world and the stories around me.
Well, let me go right around the corner here to Wentworth Street. What is that dish that Lenore is going to be known for?
Oh, me, I don't know. After the first week of business, I can see the trends of what people are ordering and what people are really responding to. I mean, we have really these amazing buttermilk rolls, and our executive chef Tyson Dexler, he is a master with bread, and these rolls, they look beautiful, they smell beautiful, they have like so many complex flavors. So we could be known for our rolls. I got amazing comments on our pork chop. We're getting our pork from Peculiar Pig down there in the Low Country, and we're serving just the blade end of the loin, which is where more of the marbling and more of the flavor is, in my opinion. And it's served with a sweet potato mostarda, which is something that I'm kind of known for, and it's big and it's got a bone in it, and it is like looks really good going out. So we could be known for that too. Also, there's so many. I'm so proud of the menu and the work that Tyson and I have done. It's really like a collaboration, and it's exciting, and I'm just feeling so good about it. Grateful.
Absolutely. And I obviously Lenore serves a quote modern Southern food that really speaks to the agriculture rural South. That's really a perspective that's now not represented in Charleston right now, as you told the Charleston City paper. So we're going to do things that speak to the place that I grew up. Why isn't that more represented here in Charleston?
Well, I think Charleston, Charleston, that Southern food cook Low Country food, and they, that's a specific thing that represents the terrain and the culture and the history of Charleston. So it makes sense. Southern food is not a monochromatic thing, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to help tell part of the story of. So much Southern food was developed on farms and landlocked places, where the people who lived on that farm grew everything that they ate, and so out of that process, there are things that are necessary. You got to preserve everything, so you have something to eat in the winter and the early spring. You got to make the most of that pig. You got to know what to do with the pig, and that's very distinct from the cooking of the Low Country. And so I think it'll be exciting for people, particularly people who grew up in a rural place and now find themselves in Charleston. I think they'll recognize some of the spirit of eating in the rural South.
What is that spirit that you know of when it comes to farm to table?
Well, I think it's resourcefulness, and the ability to be nimble, both on the farmer's behalf the kitchen's behalf. Is, you know, ingredients are not the same day to day. There are natural disasters. There are trucks that break down bringing vegetables or things in. And so I think it's a willingness and an ability to just think on your feet and be ready to cook what you've got.
What is something you have right now that you could cook?
What is something? Well, you know, I'm in Kinston right now. I've been in Charleston for 3 weeks. I go back to Charleston tomorrow. And my office kitchen, my office refrigerator. It's funny you ask, because I was just thinking I'm going to fix myself something to eat after this. And fridge, and no, I won't. Not unless I'm going to have a boiled egg. So I've got it. I've got some eggs.
Oh. That is really, really amazing. And I went over to a Handy Hot yesterday just for some oatmeal. I love oatmeal. That's what I love to eat. So that was very delectable. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I love our oatmeal. It doesn't look like much. That's what my daughter said. She said, it tastes a lot better than it looks, Mama.
Well, let me ask you this. What's next? I know it's a simplistic question, but what's next for Vivian Howard?
You know, I don't know. The pandemic has been a great opportunity for me to kind of step back and look at what I want to do. What are the things in my work that bring me joy and make me a better mom, that provides stability for us. So I can't say exactly what those things are, but that's what I'm pursuing right now.
And speaking of the pandemic, obviously that's impacted so many people. And I know you told Layla, like, hey, you know, we had to push back the date of Lenora opening from June to right now. How do you build a team for Lenora going forth?
Well, you know, that's a challenge in Charleston. You know, the hiring challenge, but
Yes.
I think we've already got like a really great small but mighty team in place, and I think that people in the industry are going to see like what we're doing and want to be a part of it. So I'm hoping that our team is going to find us.
That is amazing. Well, the Vivian Howard, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome anytime.